I realized, I'm like, why am I not going after that money? So if you guys are listening, buckle up. The lawyers are coming for that $25,000 and the $30,000 from last year.
Yeah.
Wow. Oh, you're taking action here. You're not going to take this lying down.
No, they're regulated. They're not regulated in Ontario or Canada or Denver. They're regulated. You can't do that to your players. And I have all the screenshots of everything. I always do.
Welcome in. It's Behind the Lines, purifying sports betting, winning with SX. I'm Shane. Pace is here. On today's show, Kalshi digs deeper into sports. A regulated market coming to Alberta, the Packers' gross collapse, and we'll hit the grind with Gosu. That's coming up in a little bit. He'll be here for us. But Pace, coming off another great weekend at IPL. How are you doing today?
Really great. We're filming on a Monday, obviously. We call it Maintenance Monday at inplayLIVE, and it's a good problem to have when it's a big Maintenance Monday, but this is a big Maintenance Monday, but also a monstrous payday. Monstrous.
That's awesome. Going through Maintenance Monday for you, I mean, how tough is it for you to find books right now? Because you got to cash out. You got to make sure you're doing some of your research to get good books, quality books you think you'll get paid from. And I know this is a lot of work for you.
Yeah, it's a lot of work for sure. But I like how you said you got to do research to find good books, quality books, and books you'll get paid from. Those are like almost three entirely different things these days, because the reputation online that a sports book has doesn't necessarily have the volume of someone like me coming and playing on their site, where in theory it might be tens of thousands of dollars that they have to pay their customer, and they want to find a reason not to do that. So I've had books that are the highest rated books online stiff me because they see the betting that's happened, and they'll just say, oh, he's arbitrage betting, which of course people know at inplayLIVE. I think I hedge less than any better in existence. Number one. Number two, yeah. I think you guys know that I kind of self-handicap lines that I would want. So sometimes I say, if I could get this, I would take it. And oftentimes it doesn't exist. And other times, not only does it exist, there's better lines out there. And because I've sort of self-handicapped it, I've taken a line that wasn't even, I took the I took the side of a line that would consider like the opposite of what would be considered the soft side, because I self-handicapped the game. I said I love 3.5, and people are like, oh, 2.5's out there. So in theory, the plus 3.5 was a side that you could have middled, and I took the minus side. So I do that all the time betting, and still obviously have great results. So I definitely don't arbitrage.
I want to get into a book here that maybe isn't a book. We don't have access to it yet, but it's certainly behaving and acting like a sports book. And of course, I'm talking about Kalshi. So Kalshi here, Pace, some big news over the last week or so from them. They just keep pumping out information and making announcements, and looking more like a sports book every day. So they're going even deeper now into betting. It's going to ramp up its sports betting operation by posting a job. So Pace, if you're looking for a job and you want to move to New York, you could go become Kalshi's head of sports operations. Yes. This exchange will now have an entire division devoted to sports operations based in New York. The job description calls the role a critical member of the team is needed to ensure Kalshi's sports markets run flawlessly. I'll give you a little bit of a quote here from the job posting. The sports operations team is responsible for the precise execution of sports market listings, determinations, and maintaining the integrity of our sports prediction markets. We're scaling rapidly, which means your role will evolve and grow with the company. All right, so we've talked a lot about Kalshi exchanges here on the show quite a bit over the last several months and years even, and our sponsor, of course, SXA Exchange. As well. Kalshi, of course, we've also mentioned, has been dealing with some legal issues because it essentially says it's regulated by the Commodity Futures and Trading Commission in the U.S., which is a federal regulator. It's not regulated by any of the states. And so it feels like it can operate right across the U.S. without issue. And it's facing some legal challenges in there's ongoing cases in Massachusetts and New Jersey. At the moment, it's been challenged by other states as well. But for the time being, it's operating. It's out there. Everybody can use it if you're in the U.S. John will be joining us in a little bit. But of course, we know that he is a regular Kalshi user. Here it is now with this job title, this job offering. And, it seems like it's just digging in its heels into sports. In addition to that, too, it's also started to offer more in sports. It offers spreads, totals, and props in the form of touchdown scorers. So, I mean, it's really expanding its offerings, and I can only imagine that the role of this person, whoever takes on this job, it's going to be to really kind of just expand the number of offerings that it's putting out there in sports. Oh, and the other big one I want to mention, in addition to the offerings and everything else, it's also reached out to the regulator, the CFTC, to start working on an option to build parlays. Okay. I mean, if you're offering parlays, at that point, you're absolutely a sports book now. That's my opinion. What do you think?
There's a lot to unpack there. Shane, I think I caught you off guard when I ended my previous statement. Did I answer your question about the sportsbook stuff? Because, I mean, it's Monday. Our brains are a little foggy. We've had a long weekend.
You know what? I don't think you totally did. No.
So you were saying what it looks like for me, and I just talked about finding sports books and some of the ones that it happens. Yeah, I'd say what it looks like for me is opening as many books as I can, and then just really deciding where to start playing. That would be step one. In Canada, we're lucky because there's just like hundreds, if not thousands, of like sort of offshore Curacao type sports books. There obviously are more challenging to get paid at. However, I find that as you open them and maybe just play a little bit, like you just mess around and then you just let them sit, you get emailed or contacted by someone. So what I tend to do is just go to the top of the list of like, okay, who really wants me to play there right now? Sometimes that can be the most personalized offers. So the ones that aren't automated, where someone's actually contacted me like text message or email, and I go, okay, that's my next strike point where I'm gonna go after and see how I can, best run that sports book up. And from a sports betting standpoint, the book I mentioned on last week's show about responsible gambling, I posted to my story this morning on Instagram. They're no longer taking sports bets from me. So I always find this discussion funny. They contact me about responsible.
What was that? That was Bet Victor.
So Bet Victor actually has it's called BV Group, and there's actually a few sports books under Bet Victor. It's one of the ones underneath, like one of the ones that they work with. So it's not specifically Bet Victor, but yeah. It's a part of their group. You can go to their website and check knock those books off if that's something that you want to do. But you go from, I'm so worried about you playing responsibly, to you are no longer allowed to play, and not because it's irresponsible. It's because you've absolutely kicked us in the teeth. So yeah, just an absolutely that became just a banner account of mine. So that was really cool. But yeah, that was a good example of one that was at the top of my list. It's over a year old. It's seen some losses. It's gotten some personalized offers. So off I go and smoke them. And that'll be my process, over the course of this week. So I would say it starts with the new books, which is me just going and opening a bunch of accounts. I'll just, anything I see, any account anywhere, I just open the account. I won't necessarily fund it or play on it. When it comes time to actually fund or play, that's where I do a little bit more research on I guess the reputability and who they are and who they're affiliated with, where they're licensed is a big factor. And then, play a little and then see what that looks like after I've lost a little bit down the road. And that process has worked really, really well for me. But I think that one of the biggest things that people struggle with as bettors is they go, oh, I lost this account. What's next? What's next for me? And it's really hard for them to take that next step. And I do understand that, but I would say that for any real pro, this process isn't just essential. It's almost daily, certainly weekly. You have to put in that work, and you have to be thinking about next season today. So people think about like, oh my God, I got to get my book for Monday Night Football. And sure, that's true. Or Thursday Night Football, whatever. Well, that's true. You have to think like, okay, what about Thursday Night Football next year or the year after or in 5 years, right? And I think that's where your question comes in about Kalshi. There is a real wave of exchanges now making a real impact. And you also brought up John. John has made it very clear that he's actually stopped playing on those sites now. And the reason why is he says he is 100% convinced that the way the flow of information and the betting patterns that he sees in price changes, that it's just so heavily infiltrated by like bots and APIs that are doing all the trading.
Yeah, he did bring that up, the bots. I remember that. I didn't realize he was fully off it though.
He's not like off it, but he's basically said like, I'm not playing there right now.
Huh. Okay.
And I think that that's when you see like the price sensitivity change in real time, as if you were on the field watching the game, where you go, oh, maybe there isn't as much of an edge here as I thought. Number one, and number two, this is an arena that isn't largely based with actually humans like me that are placing the bets, at least the bets that he's looking at, which might be more specific to live betting, as opposed to like, oh, I'm betting on an election or something like that before it's actually gotten underway. Now, with respect to the regulation and everything in that department, it's funny because I have so much respect for Paris Smith, but when she was on our show, she basically said that exchanges are going to die. I now could not disagree with that more. When you put yourself in a position where, from a regulatory standpoint, you've got the books coming after you now, you've done something right. So they have really made their mark. So it's kind of twofold. Number one is, why wouldn't you look at what's being offered there when what is being offered is so diverse in comparison to a sports book? And this is the stuff outside of sports, obviously, that I'm referencing. Whether it's the weather tomorrow or the election, it's just kind of fun. I think that as a bettor myself, from an entertainment standpoint alone, I just wanted to go look and see the different things that you could bet on. You get a kick out of it, right? Like you could bet on the temperature in Denver tomorrow, right? So I at least I get a kick out of that kind of stuff because, Annie Duke's great book, Thinking in Bets. That's how I think every single day. I think of like what the odds are that one more drop of water will come out of my sink after I've turned it off. Like that's the dumb shit that my brain does every single day. And I'm sure many of our listeners are similar. Yeah. And Shane, we actually ran the ad in one of our earliest episodes of FanDuel handicapping, like, will the bag break in the groceries? Yeah. And
that was a great ad. That was a great ad that they did.
Yeah. And I think Kalshi's like, or just exchanges in general, Kalshi, whatever, Polymarket, doing a great job of actually making that an area that people can potentially bet on and also profit on. So from that standpoint alone, that stuff is cool. Now, as they migrate further into, sticking their arm into the world of sports betting, you're talking about player props and spreads and all these types of things. Well, yeah, that's going to ruffle even more feathers when it comes to, regulation and, becoming competitors at the fan kings out there, as Joe Brennan would put it. So yeah, they are becoming a sports book. And from the standpoint of like Maintenance Monday and messy books and all that kind of stuff, why wouldn't you look there? Like if they have anytime touchdown scores up and it's live and the prices are getting worse or better based on that person having not scored yet. Well, we look at that stuff when we're betting on our sports books. Why wouldn't we look there to see, how similar and what the prices are like? With respect to the parlays, it's actually interesting that you bring that up, because on Thursday night or on Wednesday night, Raj and I made a little clip of him making a parlay for the week.
Great clip. Fun stuff. Love seeing the chief parlay officer in action. Yeah. Always great to see Raj putting his parlays together.
Yeah. And Monday night pending, he lost to that shit show of a game, Green Bay against Cleveland, which we need to talk about for other reasons today.
Yeah, and I've got it on the list. We will talk about it. It hurt me as well in the moment. I was that game really like set me off.
Oh, really? Okay.
In a lot of ways, because I had it on my pools ticket right here. My pools ticket. We've talked about this quite a bit. I had it on my pools ticket. I had a perfect slate going for that early slate until that fucking bullshit happened. So that really kind of got me a bit riled up in the moment. We'll get to it though, but go on.
I mean, I kind of think it's awesome what happened. That's sports, man. Like,
that is sports.
Massive favorite up 10 with 3 minutes left, right? Sorry, I'm off topic now. Oh, the parlay.
Yeah.
So when he was building that, he basically built the parlay out at 365 because that's just like, it's almost ingrained in us as Canadians that bet pre-regulation. That was just the book that you just went to go look at everything on. And I think a lot of us to this day, Shane, will use it as almost like a score type, like a hub. Like they'll use 365 as a betting hub.
It's open all the time. I have it open all the time. And I can't even log in.
Right.
I can't even log in and I just use it.
Right.
Yeah.
And the reason for that is it's just a really great infrastructure in the way they organize games and things like that. Accurate information aside. So he built the parlay there and it was like 50 pays 590. So I'm sitting there and I'm like, Raj, well, we have to place it at SX, but we had already recorded the audio and he says 50 pays 600 in his thing. It paid 900 at SX for the parlay.
Wow. I believe it. Yeah, that's crazy.
Okay, so, I do think this is a good time to bring this up. I don't want to be pushing parlays, right?
No.
But we've said this before, and I'll say it again. The reason why you don't push parlays is because the expected value to the sports book, so your expected loss as a customer, the edge compounds with every other pick. So if the house handle is 5% on one pick and you parlay it with another one that the house handle is 5%, well, guess what? The house edge just went from 5% to 25%. The same is true for if you have an edge on the game, which Raj did not on that parlay. But the edge is compound. So if you have a compounding edge on a bet that, let's just say it is 50 pays 600, but you can get the same bet at 900, well, that's that much more of an edge. That's not an insignificant amount of money. That is a 50% higher payout. That is extremely significant. SX is the exchange that's already doing the things that Kalshi's trying to do in the sports betting world. So number one, I think we should support them out of just being first to market in this stuff. But number two, they do a lot of really cool promotions. So for the month of October, which of course is right around the corner, if you go make your parlays at SX, they're running a tournament specifically based on your expected return.
Yeah, so I saw that.
The more ridiculous of your parlay, the more points you're going to earn throughout the month.
Yeah, this is the All Sports Crown $10,000 tournament.
Yeah, and as someone who's won these tournaments in the past, getting like an additional like $1,000 to $2,500 USD bonus in my account is nothing to shake your head at.
Yeah.
So for everyone out there that is, making some of these pregame parlays, again, don't want to push those, but price sensitivity is important. Go place it where you're going to get paid more. And you might go make one at SX where you're like, it doesn't pay more here. Well, then guess what? Don't place it there. Place it where it pays better. But look. And so I thought that was important to bring up. Anyways, just to wrap up the Kalshi thing, I could not be more for all of this. The fact that they're ruffling feathers in the world of the regulated books, the fact that they are causing a book like FanDuel to go, we need this as well as a part of our infrastructure. If you can't beat them, join them. It's just a 10 out of 10. And for all of us out there, we're looking for outs. You have it forever at these books as long as they're in business. So support them and place your bets there so that they are thriving as a provider of this type of thing. It's no secret, Herb lost his Bet 365 this last week.
No.
And I said it on stream. And this is the thing.
Herb, what happened? He bet some field goals or something.
It doesn't matter. He bet on markets that they offered. And you want him as a customer at your sports book, and you kick him off. And too many sports books are kicking off recreational players because they took one soft line one time. Maybe they didn't know it was soft. Or because one day they placed a series of live bets, maybe 3 or 4 in a row, that indicated that they found an edge on those bets. But look at their lifetime. As Joe Brennan says, how are you going to get it back if you don't give them the opportunity to give it back to you? So a book like 365 that essentially says, we will not correct our markets. We will not change what we are offering. In fact, we'll offer more and we'll offer worse. However, if you bet them, we will get rid of you, is the dumbest model in the betting industry by a landslide. And when you're cutting players that have an expected value long-term to you to the sports book because of hitting one or two bets, you are making extremely poor business decisions over the long term. And Herb's lighting me up. Where do I play?
I was just going to ask you, where is he going to go to next? Like, what's Herb's next book?
Yeah, and that's the other thing too. He just plays on one book. He always
well, that's what I mean, because he's a 365 guy. So he lost his 365. He's in Vancouver, British Columbia. You guys aren't a regulated market. What's going to be his next go-to book?
Well, I mean, I can tell you where I sent him if that's really what you're asking. Yeah, I sent him to 9-9, but again, okay. he was betting every drive. He was betting every outcome of every drive, and yeah. Okay. And in outside of Ontario, if you're not in a regulated market, it is very challenging to get a lot of those types of bets. Yeah. 365, of course, has them, but they have them for not a day. They have them for a second, a bet. And then they just get rid of you because you bet one of those markets that they are trying to be competitive by offering in the first place. It's a joke, honestly. Yeah. So anyways, the point there is, when does someone like him go, I still want to bet on the game and I'm getting better prices here, and I now see that, and they go over to these exchanges. So support them and keep the pulse flowing there at all costs. Yeah.
I also think too, like, these exchanges, Kalshi in the US especially, but just even like SX as well, entering the space, Poly Market, of course, was in the US, not in the US, looking to get back in the US. It seems like, they saw what was happening with Fan Kings and sort of the race to market and the, the marketing push and all of that kind of stuff. And they basically said, fuck it, we're going to play a different game entirely. We're not going to play your game. We're going to go in a completely different route, and we're going to sideswipe you. And I think they're doing it really, really effectively and successfully. It's really sort of cool to see in that sense. And I think you're absolutely right. Just support them, have them out there, use them. Don't use them when you can, and take advantage of things, because in a lot of cases you are going to get better odds, like you mentioned on SX. No trading fees right now there. They're not posting a VIG. There's no VIG for the most part. So you can post the line you want when you're you can make the market a lot of times. So absolutely worth at least exploring, trying out, checking out.
And that also, Shane, that also is a fundamental difference with Kalshi. You can set the line that you would buy, but it's almost like the market has to move to that line for it to sell.
Yeah.
Whereas what's different with SX is, oftentimes with sports betting in a spread, you might be making a market on a game that other books aren't offering at all, and now that gives the opportunity for a player or one of these bots or APIs to scoop it up based on what you offered. And I think that is competitively unique, because I know firsthand that Trampus or John, and maybe you have access to as well, Shane, they're calling a line that, at not being in the regulated market, I simply don't have it. And that gives me the opportunity to say, okay, I would take this down to this number, so I'm going to offer that number. And then because of that, someone else scoops it up. And it's literally a situation where I'm going, I don't have other access to what it is that I'm betting on, and SX has now provided that to me. That is really cool.
Yeah, that's really valuable. Yeah, that's awesome that you can sort of get in that way.
Sometimes,
yeah, not all the time, but sometimes, and it all depends on whether somebody scoops it up. As we kind of talk about the regulated market versus what the exchanges are doing and kind of skirting the regulations of the states, and going federally, here in Canada, we only have one regulated province. It's Ontario. I'm in it, and it's great. I will say it's fantastic to have access to regulated books, because when Maintenance Monday rolls around, Pace, I can always go to the list of regulated books in Ontario. I can take a look and see what have I used, what have I exhausted so far, what's left, and there's always new operators coming in, which is great. They're entering the market. It's a regulated market. I don't have to worry about this book I've never heard of. It's sort of like being in a regulated market, and I go to the list. I know they've done a lot of the vetting for me already. In terms of, okay, I can trust this because I know it's in the regulated market and I have a regulator to go to if they start fucking around.
Sure.
Which is just fantastic. And I don't have to stress getting paid by these books. I've never not been paid by a regulated book, and I don't expect that to be an issue. You go offshore, that's where you kind of run into some of those problems. So it looks like Canada will soon have another regulated province. It's coming very soon. Alberta is on the path to a regulated market. It's expected to launch early next year. This is being reported by Covers, reporting that it will launch early next year. I think that's pretty incredible. They have an interview with basically the minister. His name's Nally, Dave Nally. Out there in Alberta, and I forgot his actual title, but he's essentially the minister responsible for this file. And they have this whole interview with Dale Nally, not Dave, Dale Nally, and basically, it's looking like they're going to get the regulated market starting early next year, maybe by spring next year, somewhere in that kind of time frame. But there's a whole bunch of things that they're still looking at, and looking to Ontario to see how Ontario did it and what lessons can they learn. There's concerns around advertising, a lot of the stuff we talked about here, using athletes in advertisements, a lot of the stuff that we've kind of covered here on the show in the past. And they're kind of wondering, well, how is that going to work out? What are we going to do there? And pushing out gray market books. How long will the gray market books that are operating there have time to either register, and apply for a license and become part of the regulated market, or will they get the boot right away? And what's that window going to look like? Because I think in Ontario there was about a 6-month window, and then the operators that did go the regulated route felt like they were at a disadvantage for those 6 months, while the gray operators kind of hung around before doing their official exit. Which I mean, isn't you could even argue wasn't even a real exit, because I still have access to all the offshore gray market books if I want.
Right.
For the most part. So it's kind of like what really happened there. So anyway, these are things that Alberta's looking at, but I bring it up too because there's something else that I think is really interesting that a lot of our listeners out there, especially if they're in Alberta, but also if you're in Ontario, you might be interested in this aspect of things. So one of the things that happened when Ontario went to a fully regulated market is DFS, basically goodbye. Like, you couldn't play DFS anymore, not in any kind of real way. DraftKings had to stop offering it. FanDuel stopped offering it, because the rule is that if you were in Ontario, you could only play DFS against other people in Ontario. And of course, DraftKings and FanDuel were like, fuck that. Like, what's the point? And how many people in Ontario are playing DFS regularly to even make it worthwhile?
Right.
And it was actually the same thing with poker as well. You couldn't play poker tournaments in Ontario against other people outside of Ontario. It's like the liquidity pool had to be located within the province. And so one of the things that they're talking about over in Alberta is that once it does become regulated, perhaps Ontario and Alberta will pool liquidity for these things. So it would be essentially like Ontario and Alberta now, you could play DFS against people in Alberta, and people in Alberta could play DFS against people in Ontario, and it'll all be, one pool, because it's within Canada. It's something that they're looking at, nothing really sort of official there, but I think it's kind of an interesting concept. The quote from Nally on that is this: we're going to join Ontario in terms of liquidity and hopefully have similar like-minded provinces follow suit. So the idea too that, hey, maybe other provinces will start exploring this. I think BC would be probably the next candidate to look at it. But Pace, you probably have a better sense of what's happening in BC and whether or not that's even considering going down the regulated route. But what do you think about this potential idea of pooling liquidity and Alberta, as Alberta sort of moves to the regulated market? And do you think BC would perhaps explore this themselves?
First of all, when it was like June that Ontario regulated, 2022.
2022. Yeah.
That they said Alberta was being regulated that January. So been hearing
I
this.
know
That's
that
why
this
I
has
laughed.
been kicked down the road a little while, but this is what's being reported is that early next year. So okay, so you're already skeptical about that.
No, I sure. I've just heard the storyline quite a bit.
Right.
Yeah. So, anyways, that's number one. Number two, in Alberta right now, you can play DFS and you can play online poker.
Yeah.
It's the dumbest thing I've ever heard. Like, let's bring in regulation, and then once we bring in regulation, we're going to take these things away that you currently have access to, and then we're going to try to figure out if we can pool them with another province when the pools right now are almost global.
Yeah.
It's just insane. I don't think there's a lot of upside to the player in that circumstance that you described there. Yeah, with the whole regulated landscape, it's funny because I've had people contact me and I've seen year in, year out, day in, day out, the way certain people handle what they don't have access to. It can break you. It breaks people mentally. They don't look at what they have. They look at what they don't have, and they focus on what they don't have to their own demise and detriment. And someone messaged me saying that they didn't think that they could succeed betting in Vancouver because they don't have the regulated sports books, as if that is the key to the castle. And of course, I know a couple people in Vancouver that have done pretty well with betting. That, again, you just look at this person who's going, I don't have DraftKings or FanDuel. I can't succeed. That's how these guys are winning money, which is obviously just insane. I want things to stay the way they are in BC. I'm pretty content with that now. Obviously, when regulation first came to Ontario, there was some pretty crazy stories because that was in the time frame that these books had leashes that were quite long. And some of the members that I would say from a betting standpoint were starting to approach my level of play. They had like 6-figure weekends or 6-figure days in those first few days of regulation in Ontario because they were letting people play. And they were letting people play for what they wanted to play for. So, 5-figure spins were getting accepted without necessarily going to a trader. And if they went to a trader, it was like, oh, this guy's a super VIP, as opposed to like, shit, these lines are soft, or they're doing something that has, an edge for them over the long term. They weren't in a position to recognize that yet. Whereas now in Alberta, that won't be the case on day one. You're going to see just guys get limited instantly on all these books. They'll head out to play on them, of course, and it'll be a very short run. And then, of course, what comes with that regulation, as we've seen in different states, is Bodog being forced out, or Bovada being forced out, and obviously the different things that they're trying to do to control the market so that it's all in their benefit. So, yeah, is it good? A lot of people in Alberta might be like, "Oh my God, rejoice!" I don't want it here in BC, and I think I'm pretty firm on that now. I've just done this for long enough, and I know that the industry is one that more and more people try to become a part of, and it's very difficult to do. Just today, I was reading that BC.game, which is a part of a bigger parent company, they've gone bankrupt, and they were probably as big as it gets in like the crypto space. So when you looked at like stake.com, BC.game was right up in the top 5 always, right? Kind of knocking on their heels of like, hey, we're making a name for ourselves. And in their bankruptcy, a lot of people have not gotten paid. So there's a big lawsuit going down associated with anyone that's been stolen from them or their sister companies. But yeah, they are, I don't know what happens if you go to their website now, but I played on them with at least 3 different accounts personally. They're still up and running. There's still a sports book here, but I know they're bankrupt.
But they're bankrupt and they're not paying people out.
Yeah.
They're still operating.
Yeah. And I do see that they have moved out of Curacao. So what it must have been, and I'm just inferring as I read through this, is that they were bankrupt in Curacao and they just said, let's just go get licensed somewhere else that we can keep running and keep, at this point, running our tricks. Interestingly, yeah. So they have moved not odds providers, sorry, they have moved regulation, and they're now in Belize, licensed and regulated in Anjuan, which used to be Curacao, and now it's they've changed, and that's likely so that they can get away with a little bit more, as they would have had a lot of problems with like the local Curacao lawyers in demanding payouts. So yeah, books like them that enter the space, right? They have a harder time in a regulated world, and I love books trying to make a name for themselves, and going after customers like me. That's how I make my living. So I want that to keep happening.
Okay, I understand that, but so you wouldn't want to trade that for the opportunity to have a DraftKings or a FanDuel that's regulated, where you could go and hammer them till you get limited, because you just think that you probably get limited too quick. Is that kind of where you're at with it?
If it's a trade, then I don't want them here. But if everything runs as is right now with an addition of them, then that's incredible. But as you know, Shane, in Ontario, a lot of sports books now say you can play, but not in Ontario.
Yeah, it's weird depending on like, maybe you could access the site, but you're in Ontario, you can't sign up. Yeah. Sometimes that happens. Sometimes it'll say, it'll geolocate you and just say, you're restricted, you're in Ontario. Like, that's why I can't access Kalshi, for example, as an exchange, right? It just says right away, like, we know you're in Ontario, you can't use us. But then there's so many other like offshore gray market books that I can very easily access and sign up.
Yeah, I'd say in the grand scheme of regulated spaces, Ontario is number one by a landslide, because you have the most providers, number one, and number two, you do get access to a lot of the gray market stuff.
Yeah, there's a lot of the gray market stuff that is still very much available. So that might be the case for somebody in Alberta, or it could be the case if BC ever did go down that route.
For sure.
Could. You just don't want to lose. You don't want to lose what you already have. Is kind of what.
That's coming from a guy that was stiffed like $280,000 last season. I'm like, I don't want to.
See, imagine you didn't have to worry about getting that paid out.
Yeah, I don't want to lose the shady shit. Yeah, crazy.
Okay. Well, anyway, we'll keep our, we'll keep an eye on all of this and sort of bring it to all of you out there as it unfolds and develops, as we always do here on the show. And in that vein, breaking news pace today on Monday, September 22nd, as we are recording this. Literally, the article came out about 20 minutes before we were going to be recording. The CFL, near and dear to our hearts, is making bold, sweeping changes.
Wow.
Unbelievable stuff here. Pace.
All right, I'm ready.
Right now, as we speak, I'm sure sports analysts across the country are evaluating what this is going to mean. They're breaking it all down. Here's the quote from the CFL commissioner, Stuart Johnson. "This is all about making our great game even more entertaining. We are trading field goals for touchdowns while improving fan experience in stadiums and at home. These changes are the most significant in decades. We are retaining the unique elements upon which our traditions stand, but innovating where change is needed to evolve our world-class game." Okay. Pretty awesome stuff here. Let's go through them very quickly. I don't want to take too much time on this, but these are some things that, we paid a lot of attention to, made some money off of over the summer. Starting next season, teams will no longer be able to win games. You can't win a game with a rouge. Okay. If you miss the field goal. So if you're kicking a field goal and you miss the field goal and it goes through the back of the end zone, that will not count as a point.
As a rouge ever, or just to win?
It will not count as a rouge ever, from the way that I'm reading the rules right now. You will never get a 1 point from kicking a field goal that essentially misses and goes through the back of the end zone. No points will be awarded for errant field goals, punts, or kickoffs that go through the end zone.
So how do you get a rouge?
So if a returner fields a missed field goal, so not going through the back of the end zone, but somebody catches the ball on a punt or kickoff in the end zone and either kneels or is tackled in the end zone trying to forward the ball, a rouge will be awarded.
So if you are a kick returner and they miss the field, this is going to get to the next rule, but I won't get there. So you're a punt. Let's say you're a punt returner, and the punt lands in the back of the end zone.
Yeah,
you have to field in the CFL. So you can't just leave the ball for a rouge now. You have to take it out and you have to be tackled or take a knee to get it. But if you punt it out the back of the end zone, you won't get a rouge, or if
You
no
won't
one
get a
touches
rouge.
it?
No
Okay.
point will be awarded.
Okay. So a lot less rouges. Okay.
So there'll be a lot less rouges.
So where do you get the ball? Where do you get the ball if you punt it through
You know
the back
what? It
of the end
doesn't
zone?
say where you're going to get the ball, but I think where do you currently get it? You get it at 25?
If there's a rouge, you get it at the 35 or the 40.
The 35. Okay.
I think the 40. You get it at the 40.
Okay,
yeah,
so it's not clear where you'll get the ball.
No problem.
Okay, so there's going to be a 35-second automatic reset on the play clock. Teams currently have 20 seconds to get a playoff, but that usually doesn't begin until it's blown in by an official who usually does. So once the 10-yard chains are set and player substitutions have been made. So next year, once a play is dead, the 35-second clock will
That's
begin.
a huge change. That is a massive change.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
Right. So that's when the 35 seconds will begin. They're going to change the way the benches are set up. So each has, I don't know how much this is going to impact the game, but it's about substitutions. So right now the team benches are on the same side of the field. So starting next year, team benches will be on opposite sides of the field to facilitate substitutions. I guess
no brainer.
Too much coming and going on one side.
We literally saw 2 weeks ago the coach run down his own sideline and start to fight the Toronto coach trying to fight the Elks coach. So, okay, next.
Yeah, too much. All right. So now in 2027, not next year, the following year, 2027, fields are going to be modified in pace. This is a big one. 110 yards will become 100 yards.
No way.
End zones will go from 20 yards to 15 yards.
No way.
And goalposts will be moved from the goal line to the back of the end zone.
No
Sounds familiar to you? Have you seen this anywhere else before?
Okay.
So very in keeping with what we all know as football, NFL football. 100 yards, end zones are 15 yards, and the goalposts go to the back of the end zone, not the front of the end zone. So no more will a goalpost, interfere with a pass potentially. You won't have to pass around the goalposts anymore in the CFL.
Yeah, there was a goalpost hit last week.
Yeah, so there we are. Those are the big changes.
It's just in, Shane. They're adding a fourth down.
Fourth down?
I'm kidding.
Oh no, they're not changing the downs pace. Come on, what are you talking about?
A lot of these changes are just making it more like the American game, right?
Making you more what?
It's more like the American game. Like the rouge is basically gone, right? The field goal at the back makes so much sense. Just from like a player safety standpoint.
Yeah,
you shouldn't have to worry about your route running into a fucking metal pole. Like some of these things are so funny, but they're ingrained in the CFL. Like they're part of what makes it so comical. But that one makes sense. Why are they waiting 2 seasons for that?
I think they need to change the fields. Like I think it's an actual physical construction.
Yeah, right? I understand reducing 10 yards, but you could easily move the goalpost back now. But I guess that then the field goals are longer because it's a 20-yard end zone right now instead of 15.
15-yard, exactly. So,
okay.
So they're doing it in 2027. Those changes are coming then. But yeah.
Okay.
Big moves. We'll have to adjust as we go along.
What's funny is you like no one gives 2 fucks about this stuff, like
just us.
I genuinely care.
Well, of course, yeah. I mean, when you bet on it and you make as much money as we do off of it, I mean, you got to care. You should care. I just think it's interesting how they announce it right now, like in the middle of the season. Still, like a lot of times, big changes like that, a league would wait till the off season and then announce it. But here we are, middle of the season. Why not? Let's throw it out there on a Monday in September.
Yeah. Are they calling a major a touchdown now, or are they going to stick with major? Oh, all right. We've heard it.
All right. Let's get to the NFL because we do want to talk about this Packers and Browns game and how that all played out. But why don't we bring John into the discussion, and then from there we can dive right into the grind. All right, hitting the gridiron grind. John Wilson in the house, the great Gosu. John, how you doing, man? Great to have you.
Good.
Awesome. Before we hit the grind, we want to talk a little bit about one of the games quickly that I'm pretty sure you bet on as well over the weekend. And this one really frustrated me, John. I think it frustrated you as well, because it sounds like we both had the same number that we probably were looking at and thinking it was a lock. So I'm talking about the Green Bay Packers and the Cleveland Browns game. This game was 10-0 with 3 minutes left in the game. I had an under 22.5. I've got 12 points to give here with 3 minutes left in the game. John, I'm pretty sure you mentioned on stream that you had the same number, 22.5. And then I think there might have been some other numbers called as well. I had mentioned to Pace earlier in the show that I had them on my pools ticket. I had a perfect slate going, had the Green Bay Packers, and of course they just completely fucking derailed at the end of that game. Browns end up winning 13-10. Long story short, they score 13 points in the final 3 minutes. I was pretty upset by it, but I know that you guys were also getting some good wagers in as well that involved the Browns scoring. So talk to me a little bit about how that unfolded for you, John, and then Pace can give us his side of things.
Yeah, I think we on stream together as a group, I think we started to spot numbers in that game. So like you said, it was 10-0. It was what, three and a half minutes left or something like that. And, we talk all the time about the teams needing to, or how it makes sense for teams to kick down 10 late in games. And I think it was a holding call. The Browns were first and goal, and they got a holding call, and they ended up like third and, goal at the 17-yard line or something. And so it seemed like from the book's standpoint, they were assuming that the Browns were just going to go for it on fourth down no matter what, right? And they were such big underdogs, and the total was so low that they gave them almost no chance of scoring. So any more points in the game was like plus 140 or even better. I think some people had some even better numbers. And it really just speaks to how the books are. They're set in the algorithms are set on a certain outcome of a drive happening, and then there being essentially no time left. And it also works in our favor that the underdog was the team that would score there. So yeah, we took the over that late in that game. We also took the Browns like plus 7.5. And even if they had turned it over, that plus 7.5, that over, there's probably still bets you want in that situation where they still had timeouts left. They'd still kick. I didn't have faith. I think I said it out loud that I didn't think the Packers could get first downs to end the game if they got the ball back. That turned out to be true, and they lost the game because of it. Yeah, so that Browns defense is elite, and we took advantage of that spot.
Yeah, I think Jordan Love, that fucking interception was terrible. Like, he threw it into like triple coverage, and even if you look at the way he threw it, it was the most nonchalant throw I've probably ever seen. It's just like this little like, oh, I'll just toss this over here. It's like, dude, like the game's on the line here. Like, control the ball. Anyway, that was a bit frustrating for me. But Pace, how did this unfold for you?
Well, in that spot, there's an odds provider that spin bet, Bet99, Bet Victor, Cool Bet. The list goes on and on and on. They posted the line. I think even BetUS and a couple other books had the line posted, but the Browns were in range down 10, as John mentioned, and they were offering like plus 190, 2.9 on plus 9.5. Their team total over was plus money, so any point scored, and they were just in a position where they didn't think that the Browns would kick a field goal, so they were wrong in that spot. And just a really good opportunity from a betting standpoint to catch a book off guard there. And then, just seeing that obviously on stream and then betting it and then watching how the sports books handle it. So in my case, had about a $25,000 payout on that field goal going through the uprights, and then it did. And then the sports books voided those lines, specifically Bet Victor. And then, as I mentioned already on this podcast, they clipped me after that. No longer welcome to bet on sports with them. But some books did pay, right? So like Cool Bet and Bet99 paid out in those spots for the Canadian players, which is awesome to see that they honored those spots. But yeah, it's just another one of these examples, much like having the guys from Power Play on here, where as a sports bettor, when we see a line like that, we have to make a decision. Number one, do we take it? The value's insane. Number two, if we take it, how much do we take it for, knowing that it could lose and we could be free rolled, right? Where let's say that field goal missed. We saw a lot of missed field goals this past week.
Blocked
That
field
was
goals.
one of the ones that missed, because in that game there was a blocked field goal. There was still a blocked field goal in that game.
Yeah.
Right. When the Packers were kicking to win with like 25 seconds left. If that one missed, I'm pretty sure that we would not have gotten paid on those lines. So you're potentially being free rolled when you take it, and then regardless of what happened in that spot, losing your account to the bet that you made. So we like to out sports books on this show that have wronged us, but you're sitting there, you offer the line, you don't have anyone on top of it. It's there for an extended period of time. Your players then bet it, which is not their fault. You don't pay it, and you don't let them play on your site anymore. It's, obviously something that comes up all the time, but it's just downright, it's disgusting. So that was my experience yesterday with that. And I've had a few of those, had a few last season, definitely I don't keep this in my 290,000 of being stiff from last year. There's another about 30,000 of voids there from that same odds provider. And I realized, I'm like, why am I not going after that money? So if you guys are listening, buckle up. The lawyers are coming for that 25,000 and the 30,000 from last year.
Yeah. Wow. Oh, you're taking action here. You're not going to take this lying down.
No, they're regulated. They're regulated. They're not regulated in Ontario or Canada or Denver. They're regulated. You can't do that to your players. And I have all the screenshots of everything. I always do.
Bet Victor is a regulated book in Ontario, by the way. Just for your reference there.
Nice.
John, did you get paid?
I got paid.
John's line was real.
But the plus bet that I took was like minus odds. But I got paid. I bet the over on similar odds providers, and I bet it on like 6 different books, and 5 of them have not clawed me yet. So wow. I was actually just checking that. They're all limited now.
Okay.
But 5 of them. But again,
I don't mind that, John. That was a part of your decision making. Right, you made a decision. Yeah. I know I'm losing my account, but I'm taking the risk because it's worth it for this potential profit.
Yeah. And that it's one thing if you'd already seen the field goal be made, right? It's one thing if there's other scenarios where like there's an automatic first down and but the books don't know, or like there's information you have that they don't, but that's not the case here. And also never mind that there were 10 more points scored in the game after,
and there's 4 minutes left.
Yeah. So it's not like this is a 1 minute. There's 1 second left. The team's kicking a field goal for no reason, and it and they don't, or something, right? Like there's not even a question here that should be paid. So I agree. They had a bad line.
So you're talking about the over 10.5.
Yes, the over
that you bet at 6 books. 5 of them have not clawed. So one of them did claw.
One of them did claw. And I'll also add that in the regulated environment, you get this, they will void bets. And what they'll cite often is a clause that says an obvious error, right? And so they'll say clearly the odds were obvious. Like there was an error that was obvious in the line that we set. And they're using this as like a very vague way to avoid a lot of bets that are paying better than they should. And really, it's just bad bookmaking. And they're trying to blame it on I think what they're saying is that there's a technical error that's happening with their algorithm that's posting it on. Well, I'm sorry, that's a risk you run if you're going to have odds that are always live. There's a reason sharp books like Circa don't offer live odds continuously during the game, right?
Yeah.
And they only do it on timeouts. I'll just say that.
Okay. But Pace, we'll be watching this closely. Wow, look at you taking action, lawyering up, and you're going after them, not just for the $25,000 from this past weekend, but $30,000 from last year.
Yeah.
All right.
Nice.
Well,
good
there
luck.
we go. Can't wait to see how that unfolds, and looking forward to you keeping us all up to speed on how that goes.
Yep.
Well, there we go. I mean, these are the risks that we do run sometimes when you see those lines posted. You got to make that decision, and a lot of times that decision is being made with under significant time constraint, serious time pressure there. You've got to make this call. Is this worth it? And you've got to make the call basically within about you might have 60 seconds, 90 seconds if you're lucky, in order to make those decisions. Not easy stuff to sort of, sort through. But when you've done it quite a bit and you've had that experience, it kind of makes it a little bit easier. But yeah, anyway, really looking forward to hearing more Pace as your story unfolds. But all right, with that, guys, let's stop dwelling on the week that was and start looking ahead to the week that's coming. We'll start with college football. John, what do you got for us?
Yeah, so a really, really good college slate this weekend. Obviously, won't go through all the games here, but we'll hit some of the marquee games here. So the first game to start, it's the big game on Saturday morning, USC at Illinois, two ranked teams. USC is 7.5-point favorite on the road at Illinois. I know I took Illinois last week. They got waxed. That was a terrible call. I'm back to the well again with Illinois plus 7.5 as a home underdog. This is a big noon kickoff game, which means that's a 9 a.m. body clock kickoff for the USC kids coming from California. I don't know if you remember being in college. I never got up before 9 a.m. So I know they have to because they play football. They do, 2 days, all that kind of stuff. But that's a really weird time for them to have to kick off, especially as a favorite. So I really like Illinois plus 7.5 there. The next big game I'll talk about, I'll skip over Notre Dame, Arkansas. I don't even want to watch that game. The next game I'll talk about, Ohio State at Washington. Ohio State laying somewhere between 7.5 to 9.5. There's 9.5 out there. It may get to 10. I'd probably just bet it again, but you can tell I like Washington with the points here at home. This is Julian Sain's first start on the road. Ohio State's played nobody. Except Texas. They played Texas week 1, but the last couple weeks they played nobody. Sayin hasn't even looked very good. Washington hasn't really played anybody really, but that's I just think that's a tough place to play on the road for somebody making their first road start. So 9.5 with Washington. Really like that one. The next game, same time frame in the afternoon, LSU at Ole Miss. Lane laying 2.5 at home. I'm not sure if Austin Simmons is going to play still, but their backup looked really good the last 2 weeks. So I don't think there's actually very much of a drop off there. I think Lane can kind of insert anybody he wants in that offense. They kind of just keep rolling. So Ole Miss minus 2.5. I make it closer to 6, even with the backup quarterback in. I think LSU is slightly overrated because I think the week 1 win at Clemson proves to be less and less impressive every week as the season goes on. So I really like Ole Miss there, laying under a field goal. So I will take that. I think you can actually get their money line as we record this minus 120. So that's what I would prefer if you can get that, but I don't know how long that'll last.
That was also one of our most profitable games last week.
Yeah. Against Tulane. Lane was killing it.
Okay. Is that it for college?
No, there's one more marquee game at night, Alabama at Georgia. Really big game. Georgia laying about 3 right now. It's kind of like where I have the line. I have it a little closer to 4. So I'm kind of passing on that game. If DeBoer, if there's anything he's good at, it's these off a bye week prep games as an underdog. Where he struggles is as a big favorite. So Alabama definitely scares me in this spot. But if Alabama wins outright, we'll have to be on Vandy and Diego Pavia next week at Alabama.
I'm obsessed with that kid. He's incredible.
Yeah. Vandy scored 70 last week for the first time since 1918. By the way, 2 more games I like that are just, I would call them trash. App State at Boise State. Boise plays at Notre Dame next week. App State is catching 17 on the road. That is a nasty game. I like App State plus 17. And then Memphis off a big home win against Arkansas, going on the road at Florida Atlantic. Florida Atlantic plus 14.5. I like coming off a bye, hosting Memphis off of a letdown spot. Memphis currently in the driver's seat, probably to make the college football playoff if they win their conference. So I like FAU plus 14.5.
All right, a lot of dogs there on the college slate that you're jumping on. All right, over to the NFL.
Yep, NFL. Another kind of garbage slate again. Week after week, it seems like we just get a lot of bad games in the NFL. Maybe that's just because there's a lot of bad teams. But the first one that jumped out to me, the I can't believe I'm doing this, but the Titans on the road at the Texans in a division game. The Texans are 0-3 and they are favored by 7 in a divisional game. That is crazy to me. I make this game closer to 4.5. CJ Stroud looks terrible. That offense looks terrible. The Titans are terrible, but
so bad.
I'll take terrible +7 against terrible. So give me the Titans +7.
Yeah, Houston looks bad. Like there's something wrong there.
Yeah, I agree. That total's under 40, by the way, for first under 40 total, I believe. Since
I see 39.5 right now.
Yeah. Indoors too, kind of wild. I also like Carolina on the road +5.5 at the Patriots. I don't think the Patriots should be favored by close to a touchdown against anybody. Panthers +5.5, and I also like the under 44.5 in that game.
Okay.
I think it could be a grinder. We went 4-1 last week on our unders, and we got the Bears money line as a dog there as well. So really nice week in the NFL last week, betting these dogs and the unders. Next game I like the Falcons +3 at home against Washington. I think Daniels is supposed to be back, and I don't know. I mean, they said Penix is going to start for the Falcons, but even if that's the case, I still only make this about 3. So there's kind of some upside that Daniels doesn't play, or he's at least not 100%. So I'll take the Falcons +3. I love betting teams after they don't score the week before. Very profitable historically to back those teams.
Okay.
And then I probably should have done this one first, but Thursday night, I like the Seahawks +1.5 at the Cardinals. I think those are just essentially evenly matched teams. So in that division, I think any points you can get, as we saw yesterday with the Cardinals +1.5, will cover against the Niners. So I'll take that +1.5 with the Seahawks.
Seahawks +1.5. I mean, at that point, is it worth just taking the money line?
I always say you can't. Right now in the NFL, the last few years, a lot of games are decided by one. So it happens more than you think. I mean, it just happened.
The Cardinals game is a perfect example. Cardinals,
exactly.
San Francisco. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. 16-15, right?
Yep.
Yeah. Wow.
Seahawks have already moved to -110 on the money line on most books.
Oh, really? You can still get +1.5 out there. I'm looking at it right now.
I see the spread as 1.5 right now too. Yeah.
Okay. Nice.
All right. But who knows by the time this comes out on Wednesday? We'll see. Anything in the CFL?
The only thing I like in the CFL this week, all the lines actually have pretty close, which is weird because there's so much quarterback uncertainty. The only thing that stuck out to me was whoever's playing quarterback for Toronto +10.5 against BC, because this is kind of the BC roller coaster. Last week we bet them as an underdog. They went outright. This week they're favored by 10.5 against Toronto. I'll take the points. I have no idea who's playing quarterback for Toronto, but I honestly don't care. So I'll take the +10.5.
Yeah.
All right. That's it then. Just the one pick for the CFL.
Just the one. Yeah. I don't like any of these other games. All the lines are a little too close for me.
Okay. Pace teaser.
Yeah, so I'm trying to wrestle with getting us into profit after going 1-2 to start the season and doing 3 picks, or whether I just go with 2.
Okay.
But let's just send it. Denver on Monday night down to -1 against Cincinnati. I absolutely love on a teaser this week. The Chiefs to 8.5, and it might get to 9 or 9.5 at home to Baltimore. I absolutely love them to keep that game close. That reminds me a lot of the Eagles game where they covered on the teaser and got us our first win teaser-wise this season. So those are the 2 that, to me, are just absolute slam dunks. And then there's part of me that goes Cowboys at home on Sunday night after being so disappointing have to come out and do okay. But I think that the Packers, after that letdown loss to the Browns, have to, number one, work on their offense, and are going to get a great chance to with that Cowboys defense. That's more terrible than trying to strain your noodles. And I just got to slap the Packers on there for the third. So you get the Packers down to a half, the Broncos to 1, and the Chiefs hopefully to 9, but 8.5 is great.
All right. So that's the teaser. We just gave that to you, and I'll just quickly recap for John's picks in college football. It's Illinois +7.5, Washington +9.5, Ole Miss -2.5, App State +17, FAU +14. To the NFL, it's Titans +7, Carolina 5.5 against New England and under 45.5 in that game. Atlanta +3 and the Seahawks +1.5 on Thursday night. And in the CFL, Toronto +10.5. All right. I think that's it. I think that's all. Did we miss anything there, guys? That's it. All right. Pace, John, sports bettors tuning in from around the world. Till next week, keep beating those books. Thanks for tuning in to another episode of Behind the Lines. Remember to like, download, and subscribe. We are on YouTube, Apple, Spotify, and everywhere you get your podcasts. Have a betting story or want to be featured on our podcast? Drop a note in the comments below. And if you want to join in Play Live, use promo code Behind the Line.